Here. Commissioner Walter Mangus.
Here.
And Chair Martin.
Here.
So with 5 out of 7 members, we have a quorum and we can proceed with business.
Okay. Item 2.1 is the approval of the minutes of the September 10th, 2025 Special Heritage Commission meeting. If you have any questions, corrections, go ahead and ask those of staff. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I move we approve the motion.
All right.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. Moving on to new business. Item 3.1 is application CA 25-2.
Thank you, Chair Martin. So, application CA 25-2 was filed by Charles Renz on behalf of JGR Architects, requesting the approval of a certificate of appropriateness to allow the refurbishing and restoration of the used Champlin Oil sign, a historically designated sign located at the corner of 4th Street and Iron Avenue. So the building located at the southwest corner of Iron Avenue and 4th Street was formerly a gasoline service station constructed by the Huntington Oil Wholesalers in 1931. And Champlin Oil Service was affiliated with the business from 1952 to 1957. Abner and Catherine Perney acquired the property in 1995. The pole sign located at the corner of Iron Avenue and 4th Street, which had some damage and surface corrosion, was repaired and repainted white to prevent further deterioration. Lettering advertising the owner's business, Abner's Autos, was applied to the sign to comply with the city ordinance regarding removal of abandoned signs in 1997. An application for historic sign designation was submitted by the owner, Abner Perney, on October 15th, 1997, to preserve and protect the structure from potential demolition or further removal in the future. The Heritage Commission reviewed the application on January 28, 1998. The Heritage Commission approved the sign 4-0 for historic designation with the condition that the owner restore the sign to its original condition, more appropriate to its historic appearance. The owner, Mr. Perney, appeared again before the Heritage Commission on October 28, 1999. He stated that he was able to determine that the sign panels historically associated with the filling station's early operation were intact on the reverse sides of the existing panels. So, in 1997, the city passed an ordinance regarding abandoned signs. Mr. Perney painted Abner's Autos on one side, and then later found out that when he flipped them around, it said used Champlin Oils. So he brought these sign panels back, and the Heritage Commission approved a motion 5-0 to designate the structure as a historic sign. Once designated historically significant, removal or alteration of a historic sign would be subject to review by the Heritage Commission, and a certificate of appropriateness would be required. The quilting station and Abner's Autos operated from the building until the late 2010s, at which time it closed and has remained vacant. And the Salina Educational Automotive Museum of America, also known as the Garage, has since purchased the property and intend to incorporate it as part of their expansion project. So the used Champlin Oils sign was designated a locally historic sign. In this case, as part of an expansion of the Garage Automotive Museum, the applicant is proposing the following as part of the proposed sign restoration. And so you'll find in your packet, and you'll also find on the screen, a plan that walks you through the proposed restoration. So the plan is to temporarily remove the sign for refurbishment of the existing perimeter sign components. So not the face itself, but cleaning up the circular edge of the face. Replace the existing light housing. So you'll see the middle line, where Dustin's cursor is. there was a light holding or a light unit for that externally illuminated the sign that was since removed. The owner actually has one of those in his possession, and so the applicant is proposing to restore the external lighting to the sign. The vertical metal post and base would have the paint carefully removed and be repainted white. Rust areas would be removed and primed for a new paint finish. The existing underground conduit would remain, but the damaged elbow piece would be repaired for dry concealed wiring for the illumination of the sign, and the existing concrete base would remain, so the sign would go back to the same location once restored. The Heritage Commission may approve a certificate of appropriateness for this proposed sign restoration project if, upon a vote of a majority of its members, the proposed work being performed on the historic sign structure is found to conform with the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation of historic structures. The following criteria would appear to apply to the proposed project. And then we'll get into that a little more in my staff analysis, but the project architect's plans to refurbish and restore the used Champlin Oil sign does not appear to conflict with any of the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. The project architect is proposing to refurbish and repaint the components of the sign, including the perimeter of the top of the sign, the existing light housing, as well as the post and base. The plan proposes cleaning and light repair and refurbishment as needed without modifying or changing the architectural components or design of the historic sign. As part of the sign restoration, the applicant states they're replacing the existing light housing. The sign has been externally illuminated, but this feature has not been functioning for some time. And I spoke with Mr. Renz, and he is here, but like I said, it is going to be externally illuminated, and I'll allow him to provide more detail about that after the presentation. But it appears to staff that the proposed sign refurbishment is in line with the general spirit and intent of the 1999 historic sign designation, and that the proposed project does not appear to damage or interrupt the historic nature of the sign. Staff believes that the following potential findings may be incorporated to support the approval of a certificate of appropriateness. 1, the proposed sign restoration aims to retain and preserve the historic features and materials of the sign. 2, the cleaning and preservation methods proposed appear to protect the general structure and historic materials, as well as the used Champlin Oil sign face. The distinctive features and construction techniques or examples of craftsmanship that characterize the used Champlin Oil sign will be preserved. So it appears to staff, the board or the commission would have the following options in consideration of this application. You could approve the certificate of appropriateness based on staff suggested findings. You could approve a certificate of appropriateness subject to any conditions. You could postpone consideration to acquire additional information, or you could deny the certificate of appropriateness as presented upon making findings that would support denial. And with that, staff would recommend option number 2, that if there are any significant changes to the sign restoration plan, those would be presented to staff and potentially brought back to the Heritage Commission for additional review if necessary. And with that, staff's available for any questions, and Charles Renz is here to answer any questions as well.
All right. Do you guys have any questions for staff? Or?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
I would invite Mr. Renz up if you had any more comments.
Gage explained it, pretty thoroughly. The intent is to refurbish the sign, and we have such a wonderful facility down there at the garage, and with some expansion projects and stuff, underway down there. This is something that we're really excited about and really want to maintain the integrity of the sign. The only thing I'd clarify is, we have the original piece of metal that broke off on that light housing right there. That was in the original building when they acquired it. So they are planning on refurbishing that piece. It's in one piece, having it powder coated and weatherproofed. And then the intent is to relight that sign with some LED lights on the underside. So it just uplights the round portion, the used Champlin Oil's portion of the sign. But should be very nice. They're very excited about getting that refurbished and up and going. So anyway.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right. If you guys don't have any more comments or questions, I would entertain a motion.
I move we approve application CA 25-2 under option 2.
All right. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is item 3.2, application CA 25-4.
All right. Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. This application is an application for a addition and exterior modifications to what was formerly a medical clinic at 655 South Santa Fe. We'll go through some quick history of that in the background. The property is part of the Santa Fe Park Addition, which was platted in 1912. Originally, there was a building that was constructed on the site in 1947, and it was used for the Salina Bible Church and functioned as a church until 1990, and at which time the doctors Hodges and Marshall applied for a conditional use permit to have the church converted to a medical office. And that medical office operated until it ceased to operate for 12 months or more, and we'll get into the significance of that here in a moment. So after the conditional use permit was approved by the Planning Commission, the City Commission in 1991 modified the zoning ordinance to eliminate medical and dental offices and clinics as conditional uses in the R3 district. And as I mentioned, the property ceased to be used as a medical clinic and for a period of 12 months or more, which means that use as a medical clinic or dental clinic grandfather, so to speak, dies. And so what happened is the current applicant purchased the property, and in December of last year, in 24, applied to rezone the property from R3 to Planned Commercial 1 zoning district in order to allow the property to be once again used for medical and dental purposes for his dental practice, his dental clinic that he is proposing at the site. As part of that rezoning application, there were two variations that were approved by the Planning Commission and City Commission. The first is a setback reduction on the rear from 25 feet to 4 feet, and then the elimination of a landscape buffer along the south property line where the property is adjacent to residential property. So the landscape regulations require that when a commercial property is adjacent to residential properties, that there is a landscape buffer, and as part of the rezoning ordinance, there was a variation to waive that requirement. And so that ordinance for rezoning the property was approved by the City Commission on January 27th in 2025, and that kind of brings us to the current request. So the property is currently zoned for dental clinic practices, and the applicant is proposing to renovate the property and do an addition to open up a practice here. It's also in a historic district, specifically the historic district of the 600 and 700 block of South Santa Fe, and is classified as a non-contributing property. What that means is that the Heritage Commission, your body here, is required to review the proposed exterior work However, it is the lowest stringent review category that you have, and approval is presumed as long as the district's integrity is not compromised. So really what you're reviewing here today is to review what the applicant is proposing and confirm that what's being proposed will not deteriorate or compromise the integrity of the 600 and 700 block historic district. So you can see the red box is kind of hard to see on the screen from the distance, but that is the location of the proposed property or the subject property in relationship to the downtown historic district. So what the applicant in this case is proposing is an interior remodel that would create two spaces. One would be a space for his dental practice, and that is the area that you kind of see with all the red text and the rooms. And then a second space would be a future tenant space for a tenant to occupy on the opposite side or the south side of the property. So the north side would be occupied by his practice, the south side would be occupied by a future tenant. Currently there is an entrance vestibule on the south side of the building, and the applicant wishes to construct a second entrance vestibule bump out on the north side, and then reconstruct the exterior of the south side to match. And so what that would look like is here in this graphic. And so the exterior details or design details that would be a part of this project, one is remove the stucco and fill it with brick and paint the brick for a cohesive facade, replace and infill windows, add standing seam metal roofing over the entire structure, including the rebuilt structure and additions, construct a new north entry, which this would be the north entry here, and then reconstruct the south entry to match the north entry, and then also install a new monument sign that would be located towards the entrance of the site. So looking at the elevations, here you can see the standing seam metal roofing that would be proposed. You can see the new addition on the north side with the entrance, and the entrance on the south side that would be constructed to match. You can see that there is existing brick that would be repaired if there's damages, and then painted white to match some of the existing stucco that would be on the site as well. So that was the west elevation. This is the east elevation, or the back side of the building. The north elevation, which is going to be the left side of the building, you can see that they're removing the bond on both sides of the existing windows and replacing some of the windows here. And then this is the south elevation. Here is a close-up of the entry addition. There'd be heavy timber, that's 8x8 heavy timbers. You would have the standing seam metal roof that would be congruent across the entire roofing structure of the entire building. You would have the decorative light fixtures, as well as the stone veneer and limestone caps on top of the columns of the structure. The sign, one of the elements that is going to be part of this project, is a new proposed ground sign. The C1 district requires ground signs to be set back at least 10 feet, and so this is the proposed location. The existing sign that's there would have to be relocated and moved a little bit further to the east to meet the 10-foot setback, but that is what the applicant is proposing. And this is a graphic of what it would look like. It would, again, it'd be set back so that as you're looking at this picture, the sign would be located further to the left, but this is what the applicant is proposing. One of the conditions of approval that the Planning Commission and City Commission had with the rezoning of the property from R3 to PC1 is that signage would be limited to one monument sign with a maximum sign area of 32 square feet. and a maximum height of 8 feet, and then also limiting the property to one wall sign of no more than 32 square feet, with illumination shall be to externally illuminate the sign or push through lettering, with full illumination of the sign cabinet being prohibited. It's our understanding, and the applicant is here to speak more on it if to clarify, is that this particular sign would be internally illuminated with push-through acrylic. What that means is the graphic that says Great Plains, so basically the text, and then the symbols or graphic of the teeth would light up at night, and the rest of the sign would not. So the applicable standards for the Conservation District, one is the compatible use with minimal alterations, which is kind of what we have here. There's minimal alterations being done to the building. The focus on repair before replacement, so there is a lot of existing brick that is going to be repaired and maintained and painted to match existing stucco. Third is the contemporary design is allowed in the context of compatibility. And then fourth, the design must respect the district scale, material, and character. And so, staff analysis, the entrance additions maintain proportion and symmetry. The painted brick and roof would unify the design of the entire structure, the existing structure as well as the new addition that's being proposed. The materials are compatible with the surrounding structures. The modern design complements the existing character of the neighborhood, and the proposed development would meet the PC1 zoning requirements that the property is restricted to. Findings, the design is compatible in size, scale, and character, and the material is consistent in design, texture, and color. Number three, no adverse impact on the district's historic integrity. And number four, the plan is compliant with all applicable zoning standards. So with that, the commission has the following options that staff has identified. Number one would be to approve the certificate of appropriateness as presented. Number two is to approve the certificate of appropriateness with conditions. Number three is postpone for further information. Number four is to deny the application, finding that it would harm the integrity of the historic district. In this case, staff would recommend approval of the certificate of appropriateness as presented, and would stand for any questions that the board may have. One thing I would note before we get into comments and potential public comment is that staff did receive a call from a neighboring property across the street who had some questions and concerns about the signage. And Nancy Klostermeyer was her name. She is a resident at 660 South Santa Fe. Just wanted to make sure that there weren't any, that the sign would be appropriate in terms of its scale and brightness for the area in the corridor. I shared with Ms. Klostermeyer that the ordinance that rezoned the property did limit the sign in terms of its size, its height, and limited the illumination to external illumination or push through internal illumination. So that was shared with her, but she did want to note that that was something that she wanted the board to be mindful of.
Okay. Did you guys have any other questions for staff? Okay. Did you say that the applicant is here? Yes. Okay.
Mr. Bullock, the owner of the property is here, and his design professional, his architect, Dan Knight, is also with us via Zoom.
Okay. I didn't invite you up to the dais.
Hello, Bob Moeller here. Dustin did a fantastic job of explaining everything that we have planned for the site. So I don't really have anything else to add, unless you have any questions.
I don't.
No. Okay. All right.
Happy to see it fixed up.
Yeah. Yeah. Was there any other public comment? Or
We do not have anyone from the public in the room or on Zoom. Again, Mr. Knight, who is the design professional, the architect for Mr. Moeller, Dr. Moeller, is online. I don't know if he has anything to add, but those would be the only individuals that are attending the meeting at the moment.
okay. Yeah, I'd open it up for Mr. Knight if he had anything else to add.
I don't. I think did a great job explaining it. And yeah, here again, just like Bob, if you have any questions, be happy to answer those.
Okay. All right.
What would be eligible to go into the part that you want to rent? The south part?
So it would be anything, any use that fits within the permitted uses of the C1 district would be permitted. I know when we went through the rezoning process, Mr. Moeller had intentions of a similar kind of medical clinic or dental clinic, but he can speak to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we have my building designs for even further expansion of my office into that space. But depending on until then, we'll make sure it, confines to the zoning allowable businesses there.
Okay. I didn't know if that would, in the future, change the sign out front. Create a
If that
bigger
were to occur, we would have to come back to the commission to get a new sign approved, and it would be under the same regulations.
Okay.
And either my sign would shrink a little bit to accommodate the new sign, but we keep the similar illumination or whatever needed to happen. We would make sure it confined to the same regulations.
Okay. Thanks.
Don't have any more questions or comments. I would open up for a motion.
I move that we approve application CA25-4.
I second.
I have a motion and a second, and just to clarify, that was option one.
Yes. Option.
Okay, option one of approve the certificate of appropriateness as presented upon finding the work conforms to the standards and criteria contained in the conservation ordinance. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. And yes, thank you. Doesn't look like there's any administrative items on the agenda. So item 4, staff, is there any unfinished or other business to discuss?
We don't have any unfinished business for this meeting. However, Daisy does have a note on a special meeting.
Yes, I had reached out to everyone about either December 4th or 10th. Thank you for getting back to me so quickly. We are going to proceed with pursuing a quorum for December 4th. That's a Thursday at 4 p.m. We will have at least one application. There's a potential for another to join on that date as well.
Okay. All right. Dustin, was there anybody on from the public today?
We do not have anyone from the public online right now or in the room.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Mhm.